Tristan, me personally, I would never let myself get manhandled like this. That's just me though. Thank you to our final patrons, Strawbones, Red4765, Midnight Gemlord, Chion, and Artgoon. And a very big thank you to our $25 patron, Alex Ice Rose. Now, we're having this breakdown / review of chapter 95 of Four Knights of the Please don't forget to leave your own on the chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do a Patreon down below. You support Rizzo as $1 monthly exclusive videos, early content, and more. Also, now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, some of those perks include the live reaction to this very chapter. Now, let's hop into last week's poll. So last week I ended up asking you guys, with the fact that Io revealed herself to not actually be human, not be part of Camelot, and more so being a demon, which form of her did you prefer? Did you prefer the human form or the demon form? And you know, I don't know what I expected from her. Like maybe I had too much faith. Maybe I had too much faith in y'all. Y'all are down to spec. Like the comment section. Oh, sweet mother of mercy. Y'all were vicious. I mean, vicious, maybe the wrong, maybe not the long word, the wrong word. Cause like, okay, there were some of y'all. Regardless. Some of y'all were down to Trojans. There's no other way I could put it. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can say to you. I'm not mad at you. Once again, it is 2023. I cannot judge y'all in any word, any way, any shape, any form, because it's the modern year. But like, y'all, no matter what, either way, y'all were down bad. Like down Mariano. Like I don't know. Y'all were down nuclear. I have no idea what way to put it. Some of y'all are down. The ratio was 65% to 35%. A lot of y'all prefer the demon form more than the human form, and I can definitely understand that, right? The demon form has a much more unique design than the human form. I should have called her Merlin Light, as in she literally just had lighter hair and was essentially Merlin in human form. So I can definitely see why on an aesthetic front you would prefer the demon form. It has the weird arms, it has the wings, it has the weird fleshy hair covering, the sharp teeth. Like on an aesthetic design, this really shows how Nakaba is unafraid to not just keep his monster design solely for his monsters, but take characters and really make them more monstrous, more scary, while still giving them a humanoid visage. It's really interesting to see Nakaba flex his chops. But I know that's not why y'all chose the demon form. I've read the comments. I know y'all at this point. Some of y'all are monsters. Some of y'all are more of a monster and a demon than Io will ever be. Like legitimately, golly gee willikers, fellas. Golly gee willikers. Oh, y'all are beasts, y'all are demons. But thank you guys for participating in that poll, all 372 of you. Make sure you get your input in on tomorrow's poll, dropping at 12 p.m. to make sure your input is included for next week's review. Now, let's hop into Chapter 95. What's up, guys? All the here, and here we are to do a review of Chapter 95 of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, which is known as Assassins in the Night. And I will admit, this chapter, for like all the wrong reasons, was undeniably hilarious to me. I don't know why, but like a majority of this chapter just had me like laughing uncontrollably after rereading it again. Like I did a live reaction. You can check that out on Patreon or become a member of the channel. Both versions are up. And I found some of it funny then, but I think really on rereads, it was extra. It just hit extra different. But enough of that, let's hop right into the chapter itself. So we open up and we do get to see that everyone is talking about how, for even just a fraction of a second, they did in fact sense Tristan's magic power. It did exist. It flared up, but only for an instant. They couldn't actually like find a lockdown location on it, but they did feel it. So they know Tristan is still out and about. He's not no longer in the town and or, not the living anymore. But obviously we saw at the end of last chapter that Io immediately put her magic back up. So she can sort of like continuously spam it. Not necessarily, I'm not sure if it's entirely passive, like she just exists in an area and then like around however many however big the town is, radius, there's no magic sensing. But still, the fact that they're able to pick up on it so quickly, especially in a town flooded with magics, is pretty impressive. Like, their sensory abilities, or really the sensory abilities in Seven Deadly Sins, are always like hit or miss. Sometimes they can sense you from like halfway across the entire country, but they can't sense you like 5 feet away. So legitimately, sometimes it feels like Nagama doesn't know what to do with the magic sensory abilities, but playing with it like this is something I really, really like. And we see that Nasiens straight up says like, yeah, I felt it all right, but it immediately disappeared again. So honestly, we couldn't even notice that we couldn't sense magic up until now, which is once again very interesting. I don't know how that feels. Like, hypothetically, imagine if just like you walked into a certain area and you just couldn't see. Like, you just couldn't see anything. Like, wouldn't you notice that? Like, wouldn't that be weird? Like, you gotta think about it. Magic sensing in the world of Seven Deadly Sins is legitimately just like a sixth sense. It's just an extra thing you are consistently able to do. Like smelling, like touching, like feeling, or touching and feeling are pretty much the same thing, but regardless, it's like one of your regular 5 senses. So you think you would notice you suddenly lacked all ability to do that pretty fast. Like, let's say it's a more like subtle sense too, because maybe sight is too drastic, right? Like, suddenly going blind the moment you walk into a town's borders would very likely catch your attention. But who knows? You know, magic sensory abilities, they seem to be like a more background thing. Sure, they're able to be triggered by extreme amounts of magic power, but that doesn't mean like you're always focusing on it like you would with sight. So hypothetically, let's just say your smell disappeared. Wouldn't that feel weird? Like, I'm not sure. My sense of smell is pretty up in the air. But even still, like, I know when I can no longer smell anymore, something's up. Usually my nose is blocked, or I need to go blow my nose or something like that, because I literally just can't smell, and that feels weird. So I know when that happens. I'm kind of shocked that they just didn't notice that they suddenly could not sense magic. Because that seems like such a major primary thing, especially characters like Chion, characters like Lance, characters like Gawain. Like, admittedly, I can give a pass to Percy, because I highly doubt he was using his magic sensory abilities for that long. He only recently awakened to his magic. Same thing with someone like Donny. Donny doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would be training his magic sensory abilities, and even nasiens. But for characters who are supposedly skilled holy knight tiers, I'm kind of shocked that they literally lost their main primary detection ability of danger and was just like, oh yeah, you know, can't mean much. It's very interesting. I really wonder conceptually like what it would be like to sense external things, because like notably we don't have magic in our world as far as I know, but like imagine if you could sense levels of energy. Like, you just looked up at the sun because you could feel its overwhelming power level relative to you, and you could like feel the power of the earth beneath you. I wonder what that would be like, especially if you just suddenly lost it. Who knows? However, we do get to see that Percy, in a bit of detective work, realizes that I'm sure it was after we came to this town. This must be the weird feeling Lancelot was talking about. Interesting. You know, Percy, he's getting slowly but surely, you know, he's still Percy, but he is slowly getting more perceptive. He's able to pick up and connect the dots in ways that I don't think a chapter 1 or chapter 10 or chapter 20 or chapter 30 Percy would be able to. So I like that. I like that. Shouts to Percy having a little bit of a brain up in there. You know, you had a big old helmet, but it was kind of empty for a while, but now it's filled up with more than hair. And we do get to see that Chion points out the very important fact that, you know, if our magic sensory ability is shut down, and we are in fact going to be fighting assassins or anyone who could hypothetically want to harm us not having the one thing that would allow us to sense them would be pretty darn bad. We need to find Tristan. We need to regroup. We need to do things in order to make sure we stay safe so we can have better sights. Because the thing is, if you're fighting assassins, usually they're going to move more quietly. So you wouldn't be able to rely on your hearing. The town's already packed and crowded, so your sight isn't going to be all too good. And that's if they just don't approach you from behind, which entirely invalidates your front-facing vision. You're on a horse. You don't have, like, 360 vision. You don't have a dragonfly either. And to top that off with the fact that you don't know what an assassin smells like, and by the time you can feel them interacting with you, it's probably too late. Yeah, losing your made ability of detection of external dangerous magical things is most likely probably the worst thing that could happen in a situation when you're dealing with people who want your head and are fully capable of taking it before you even notice. So we see that Chion specifically goes to Jade, and it's like, we need to find him, Sir Tristan. We need to find him right away. However, he turns around and Jade is just not there. Like, straight up gone. Kind of crazy how he just pulled a vanishing jutsu on them so quickly. However, speaking of vanishing jutsus, we vanish away from the main group and go over to Anne and Isold. And we see that Isold and Anne are running towards a specific objective. And Anne asks, like, did you really think they met here? And Isold goes, I don't know. I couldn't quite pin their position down. Even so, I can't just sit still and wait. To be fair, that is true. Once again, I do believe Tristan, I don't know. Once again, after reconsidering Isold, she may just be top 5. Actually, maybe top 4. She's probably stronger than No, okay. Am I kidding? I may not be kidding. But with that being the case, we see that Isold is definitely running out there to try and do it. However, Anna's like, yo. Chill out. Chill out. Let's be real. Let's be 100% real. We need to focus up. Because it's not just your beloved daddy Tristan that's in danger. Focus on what we felt. Didn't you feel another person's presence besides the prince? Like, right behind us. Shoutouts to Anne. Like, I'll admit, I can't imagine, like, hypothetically, if I were to be given, like, a snap-second 360 of an entire location, like, straight up, assumingly, I'm just going by that's how the magic sensory feels like. It's probably just a constant 360. If I were to be suddenly given, like, a panoramic view of the entire area that I was, especially if I'm specifically looking for somebody in a world full of people with magical powers, I would, or even just a world full of people, and I had my sight only, I would not be able to notice that someone was directly following behind me. I don't know, maybe I'm just not as perceptive as I would want to be, but the ability, the fact that she was able to notice that in a split second that she had her magical sensory abilities is pretty impressive. I get it, Tristan was much farther away than the person right behind them was, but even still, I think it's pretty bonkers that she had that kind of situational awareness. And it really shows. And she's pretty darn competent. However, we don't get to spend much time with this group either. We got a page with the first group, a page with the second group. And we see that Io is about the business. Like, straight up, I respect her hustle. She played no game. She said, what makes you think I'm part of Camelot? Because I'm about to make you Camel not. And she lunged in. And notably, shout outs to base Tristan, dog. I was kind of clowning on him for, being in base in the first place, especially considering he literally sat there and watched Io transform. I was like, dude, what are you doing in base? Like, you just haven't proven that you're him in base. But he actually reacts. And notably, obviously, Io was not in a close distance to him. She did have to lunge in. But the fact that he hits the weave with the torch still in hand, and she legitimately just misses entirely. She fully and properly whiffs with her sort of spear-esque hand is really, really impressive. Shout out to Tristan's reaction speed. And we do get to see that now that it's been revealed that things are about to go down, and Tristan's not just going to have a night of fun, he's going to have a night on the run. And bro glared at her, hit her with the meanest of glares, a glare so hard that it had to be written out, and his Triskelion activated. And notably, interestingly enough, I think, he even starts to spawn arc particles around the earring that he wears, which is interesting. Did Elizabeth ever do that? I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I wonder if that has any special properties. Do you think the earring amps him or anything? I highly doubt it. It's just a earring as far as I know, but even still, it'd be interesting if that had extra properties because of the fact that it was once tied to Elizabeth. And we see that Io's like, oh wait, he can. Darn, I forgot he can transform. And we see the blade that I assume is Mael light up in a golden blaze. Or not a golden blaze, but a holy blaze of sweet light. However, despite Tristan's insane reaction speed and base, despite amping himself with Triskelion, he whiffs entirely again. But then again, I suppose it's not necessarily a straight up whiff in the same way that Io didn't have a straight up whiff, because Io just dodges back away. And once again, I do love Nakaba's action. And it's something I don't necessarily talk about too much in comparison to the magical abilities and stuff like that. You didn't ever hear me praise Nakaba Suzuki like I would praise Nakaba, well, not Nakaba, but Suzuki Sensei from Sakamoto Days. Sakamoto Days action is still on a different level, but even still, I love the fluidity, the kinetic energy that's in Nakaba's drawings. The way Io leaps back and you have the action lines drawing to the center of that image, which is Tristan swinging the blade, and you get Io rapidly bouncing back and forth across the walls as Tristan's blade still glows and the torch acts as the only illumination in the light, and you get to see Io, who leaped back with such force that she literally has to drag her sharp nails into the walls that she's between in order to stop herself. I love it. I don't know, Nakaba, when he really sits down and is like, you know what, I feel like drawing some action, the bro can really draw some action. I love the way he does it. I hope I hope that kinesthetic energy is captured within the Four Knights anime. I'm not entirely sure because, as it was pointed out in my live reaction to that, go check that out if you haven't already. It does look a little bit slideshowish, but if we can get some budget where it really matters in moments like these, I think the Four Knights anime is going to look beautiful. That's the thing with the season 1 and 2 of the Seven Deadly Sins anime by A1 Pictures. They did a very good job of capturing the kinetic flow and almost the chaotic nature of Nakaba's fight drawings. And I think that hopefully Telecom can do the same thing. I have faith in them. They've animated some good stuff so far. So we see that now that Io has retreated and is sort of just posted up in the walls, just like the Titans, we see that Io, well, not Io, but Tristan's like, Io, you said you're not on Camelot's side. If so, then what purpose do you have to attack me? Is the hostility towards me a descendant of the goddess clan? If not, and I'm not gonna lie, this was low-key mad hype, but what did he do with his other eye? Did he close both eyes? We get the focus on the one he closes. But, like, did he legit, like, did he wink at her as he proceeded to open the other eye? But we see he's like, if not, do you bear a grudge against my father, a traitor to the demon clan? And bro starts to dive into the darkness. Notably, this is the form that we didn't get to see in action, or at least he starts to go into it. The form where he has the one triskelion and the one darkness eye. The boy with holy and darkness in his eyes, as Pelgar described him. We never actually got to see this form in action, and now we finally get to. One, that's very, very exciting. Two, I have been talking about it a lot in any videos I do about Tristan, but I'm really liking that Nakaba's doubling down on what Tristan's main role in the story is seemingly going to be. It's going to be tracing a lot back to the sins of the father trope. The idea that the ancestry of an individual plays largely into the life that they're going to live because their actions of the father had so many, and the mother to be fair too, had so many ramifications on such a worldwide scale that realistically everyone kind of would be gunning for the royal family of Leonis. Because even if everything ended up working out in the end for Meliodas and all he loved and cared for, that didn't mean it didn't have ramifications on other people. And Tristan fully acknowledges that. He understands that there may be people out there, demons in fact, that still don't like the goddess clan. Once again, as nice as Eldris is probably being as king, and as calm and like cooperative as Mael is probably operating as the leader of the current celestial realm, that doesn't necessarily mean that all demons are just going to suddenly be able to suppress literally thousands upon thousands, if not, who knows? We don't actually know how long the Demon King and the Supreme Deity were around before, but we know they instigated the Holy War for a while. That stigma isn't going to be able to disappear so easily. So Tristan fully acknowledging the fact that, yeah, demons may just not like goddesses, and or worse, demons may not like the son of Meliodas because in their eyes, this is the man who slayed their king and ruined their way of life, or at least in the way that they had thought of it for thousands upon thousands of years. Tristan having to deal with the ramifications of that with other species, not just having Camelot as a threat to him, but hypothetically his own people or fractions of himself as their own people, that is really, really good. I love that Nakaba's playing with this idea, because hypothetically you could just ignore it, right? Like, everyone's happy, all the demons and the goddesses are cool with it because, you know, they have to be. And obviously our main threat is Camelot. It's not like the celestial realm or the demon realm are going to be major threats anymore, because they literally can't be. We had the whole series about them being major threats, and that was Seven Deadly Sins. So we gotta put more focus on the new guys, the humans, humanity. But no, Nakaba's more than willing to go out of his way and be like, yo, just because I told you not to read Seven Deadly Sins to enjoy Four Knights does not mean elements of Four Knights will not be tied back to elements of Seven Deadly Sins, because of how massive of repercussions there are from the actions of our main cast from the previous series that will come to haunt the future. And I really, really like that. I think it's something that's hard to do if you're writing a sequel series. I think Boruto struggles with it a lot. Like, a thing about the Boruto world is that since Naruto is so interconnected with everything, since he tied so much into everything, for the most part, the world kind of just operates fine, and only threats that exist or any conflict that exists mainly comes from like external factors like Kara or the Otsutsuki. Meanwhile, Nakaba's unafraid to take the factions that he's already established, factions that he's already built up, and use them as conflict alongside the more major conflict of Camelot. I think it's hard to do. I don't blame characters or writers for not doing that because it's more difficult than can be imagined, but Nakaba's going out of his way, and I really, really like that. However, we don't actually get a direct answer from Io. She just decides to show us what that mouth do, and she opens it up nice and wide and goes, no, stop it. You sick individuals. You sick. She has sharp teeth. It would not be pleasant. I don't care how long her tongue is. You all need to chill. You monsters, you demons, and you beasts. What would Elizabeth say if she saw you thinking what you're thinking? Meliodas would probably agree with you. But regardless, we see that she spits out a whole bunch of gunk. And it is straight up gunk. Notably, this is not darkness, nor is it light. In particular, it legitimately just appears to be some sort of biochemical substance that she all over the battlefield. And Tristan just barely manages to dodge, but his heel is caught by this sticky substance. And notably, the substance attaches to him and attaches to the ground, and he struggles. And we see that Tristan even acknowledges it. Wait a minute, adhesive thread? That seems so weird. And notably, Isold does seem pretty weird. The fact that she has, at least so far, magical abilities that we haven't seen in the magical jamming power, which makes sense. Demons can have unique magics. And also this adhesive spit or slop or throw up or whatever it is. Very, very interesting. I really wonder what she really is. Because I'll talk about what I think Io is in a bit when she starts really wombo comboing. But we'll see. We'll see. We see, speaking of, we'll see that Tristan swings for the thread, but for some reason, despite Isold being presumably a demon, the arc magic isn't working to break down this adhesive thread. And to be fair, it makes sense because the adhesive thread isn't necessarily darkness. Darkness gets broken down by light particles, so that's why arc would work. But seemingly enough, this weird adhesive thread is entirely resistant to it and is more so stretchy and malleable to the point where Tristan can't cut it. And the thing is, we see that Io is not one of them magical fighters. She will hit you with that adhesive spit and then hit you with the 1-2 wombo combo 2-piece no drink with a dry Popeye's biscuit. Golly gee williker, she mollywops Tristan. Before at least, she was lunging in with her hand outward, and we see that she has sharper nails, so if she were to lunge in like that, she's essentially trying to impale Tristan. But no, when Tristan is in a much more locked down position, she legit just slobber knocks him, straight up punches him in the jaw. And the thing is, due to the fact that Tristan's still stuck, and it's revealed that the thread that he's being held by is strong against fire too, he's just sent out from the force of her hit. And it drags him back. It's kind of like a rubber band where it just keeps rebounding. And we see that Io once again winds up the meanest knuckle sandwich this side of Britannia and mollywops him again. And this, yeah, okay. So the thing is, Io looks like she's having too much fun. She legit starts wombo comboing is a whole understatement, dog. Tristan, they're literally what? 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 different Tristans on this panel. You want to know why? Because she is punching, kicking, slamming, screaming. She is abusing that boy. Straight up to an insane degree. And I guess this kind of just confirms that the hybrid form is weaker. I don't know. Maybe she's just stronger than Demon Tristan. And Tristan leaped straight to hybrid because he was like, okay, I need hybrid. But I think the main reason he even uses the hybrid form, now that I think about it, is to use the goddess side of himself to suppress the demonic side of himself, to get himself more control. Because notably, his mark hasn't even manifested. So he doesn't even have any aspects of his mark, so I highly doubt he's using all of his dark power, and it's likely that due to the combative nature of light and darkness, he's not anywhere near the full strength he would have if he were to just double down into the dark side of him. So admittedly, I'm a little bit disappointed by that, but I'm assuming this hybrid form will progress further. The triskelion will likely get stronger and brighter, and the darkness will start to leak out of his eyes. However, there's an interesting point that Isold, I keep saying Isold, Io makes here, where she's like, your reasoning is completely irrelevant. I just want to wombo combo the taste out of your mouth. And admittedly, that's fine. Don't get me wrong. Just wanting smoke for the sake of wanting smoke is one of my favorite character archetypes. Do not get me wrong. I love Kenpachi. Kenpachi is one of my favorite captains, and all the man is, when you break him down in brass tacks, is a smoke demon. Pride Escanor, just a smoke demon. every other character that you can think of to some way, shape, and or form that may be a smoke demon, most likely is just a smoke demon. It is 100% natural for people to be like this, especially when they be like this. However, the crazy thing is that this, like, she's just a random, like, we have no context. She appears to not be with Camelot. She appears to not have any specific ties to any sort of clan. No, she's just here because she wants to give Tristan the work. And I can respect that level of pettiness. Like, you know what? I don't think I've ever hit that level of petty, but I can respect the hustle that you are going to go out of your way to mollywop this royal prince just because you can. And we see that Tristan, he's kind of just taking the beating. Like, there's nothing he can do about it. The adhesive isn't breaking, and Isold is also trying to break him, and thusly he's kind of just getting wombo-comboed to no avail, really. There's nothing he can really do. So I'm assuming what's going to happen here, because we even see the only eye that's still open in this final panel that we see of Tristan for the chapter is legit just his darkness eye. So presumably he's going to go demon time next chapter. Or he's just going to keep getting wombo comboed, but I highly doubt he's just going to keep getting wombo comboed. That'd be kind of wild. However, with that being the case, I'm actually thinking that Isold isn't a pure demon and maybe more Nephilim than we think. And the reason I say that is, one, because of the wings. The wings have a really light coloration. Two, the fact that Arc just doesn't work on her. Or no, well, we don't know how Arc interacts with her specifically. Tristan whiffs the one attack he could have landed with Arc, well, the Arc enhancement on his blade, and proceeds to fail to cut the adhesive, which admittedly isn't made of darkness, so maybe you could argue that this is just a native demon ability that we've never seen before, the ability to spit up muck everywhere that happens to be super sticky and elastic. But it would make sense that she has this diversity of powers, this strange, almost hybrid demon goddess appearance with aspects of darkness and aspects of light and all of that, and the ability to transform and hide herself in other forms if she were a hybrid of some sort. Maybe she doesn't have to be a demon goddess hybrid. Maybe that's too specific and too, like, combative. I definitely understand y'all points when you're talking about maybe Tristan is the first Nephilim, not because of, like, prejudice or anything, but literally it's only his human basis that's compatible with both, so if he didn't have that, he'd immediately perish. But it would also make sense why Isold's like, I have no real reasoning for you. It's entirely irrelevant, because she is just another Tristan, except more demonic and goddess, obviously. And thusly, even if she were to tell him, I'm just like you, that wouldn't tie it to anything. That wouldn't give him any real reason or link back. She's just here for the smoke. That's the only thing that really matters right now, as she's smoking him. So I can kind of understand. I can kind of see it. However, with that being the case, we don't get to spend too much time with Tristan getting a jolly good beating, as we cut back to Percy and his gang, and Percy, completely giving up on magic sensing and hunting him down, just goes, Tristan, hey, where are you? You know, I just gave him credit for thinking hard, but what if he's getting attacked, Percy? What if he's getting mollywopped? What if he just happens to be stuck in place and getting the absolute taste knocked out of his mouth? Do you think he'd be able to respond? Do you think he'd be able to help? And we see that with that being the case, the whole group is kind of like losing faith. They're kind of worried because they're like, we still haven't found him and we've been searching for a while. There's no way you think he could have gone back to the inn, do you? And we see that with that being the case, Khan's like, what do you mean? What would you do if the enemy gets to him and a fight breaks out? If we go back to the inn, we've done this for nothing. We must find Sir Tristan. And we see that Donny's like, dude, without our magic sensing, we can't easily find the guy. There are like hundreds of people at this festival. All the streets are crowded. It's literally like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Doesn't help that bro is not the tallest either, so if he's behind somebody, we would just never see him. And we see that Chion's like, there are more back alleys in this town than you can count. Of course he could be hiding behind one of them. And we see that with that being the case, Percy actually has a realization. And he says, oh, Tristan, and Chion nearly jumps out of skin. But Percival didn't actually find Tristan. He just remembers that Tristan mentioned, oh yeah, these roads are so narrow that realistically only one person could fit through. And he finds out that Tristan was in fact telling the truth. And with that being the case, everyone's kind of just calming down. Like, they're a little bit bored with the search for Tristan, which I kind of get for one, because like there's no guarantee that Tristan's even being attacked. He went off with a woman, so you know, maybe Tristan's just getting lucky as far as they know. But with that being the case, Donny's like, dude, Chion, don't you think you're like a bit overprotective? You and Isold both, like, no lie, dog, you kind of need to hop off his meat. And Chion's like,
I would never hop off my cousin's meat. I will treat it like a pogo stick for all I care. We owe him our lives, so I will give him my body.
Like, guy, bro, I understand dedication, I understand respect, and I understand that Brody saved your life. But that gives you no right to take your armored hand and squeeze the life out of Percy's face. Like, dog, why? And once again, what do you think you go? You know what? I'm not going to clown on the Tristan platoon anymore. They're kind of cracked. But with that being the case, we do get to see that Donnie's like, dude, why are you even, like, I don't even get it at this point. You're part of the royal family, aren't you? I heard your mom was the first princess of Leonis. Why do you think it's at all normal or not strange at all that you cling to your own flesh and blood cousin like some kind of groupie? Like, I get Isold, but not you. And we see as nasiens goes out of his way to try and heal Percival's face as he's all jacked up now. We see that Chion's like, whatever, say what you like. I'm gonna go hop on my pogo stick. And we see that nasiens actually brings up a pretty good idea. He's like, oh, wait a second. I think we're doing this all wrong. If we're not able to find Tristan conventionally by just walking around, Chion, don't you have your spirits? Why don't you ask them for help? I'm pretty sure you're a user of the spirit arts. That's how you kind of like wombo comboed and soloed us before. And we see that Chion's like, that's true. I did wombo combo and solo you before in an attempt to commit massive amounts of treason. Hold on a second. I was so panicked I completely forgot. You served me well, nasiens. I do think that part of me wishes we would get more of this group traveling together for a bit before they separate, because I think it would be interesting to get more of these intergroup dynamics. Like the ties between Chion and nasiens, or the ties between Chion and not Chion and Jade. We have Chion and Jade. But the ties between Chion and essentially the rest of the Percival platoon and all the different characters interacting and intermingling. We already got a bit of that with Anne and Isold. We got a bit of that with Jade and Chion and not Jade and Chion. We only got a bit of that with Jade, Donny, and nasiens. So it would be nice to see more of these interactions and really build a rapport between these characters. However, we see as Chion goes to fish out one of his spirit gems and he goes to speak, seemingly nothing happens. Like, everyone's standing there watching him and waiting for him to do something, but nothing comes out. He's confused. And we see that Percy goes to ask what's going on, but he finds out that he can't speak either. Nothing's coming out. And none of their voices are. And it's not just that. As Chion notices that, hypothetically, this could and may be Sylph's doing, it can't be, because Chion doesn't see the Sylph anywhere. In fact, when he drops the crystal, it's not just the voices that are gone. All of the sound itself is gone. This is beyond Sylph's natural abilities. And as Chion is looking down at the stone he just dropped, Percival gets smacked into him, punched dead in his mouth, and slams into Chion and lands. And we see the man, the myth, the legend, the overbuffed doctor who wishes to be Batman himself, Dr. Hugo Strange McDuff, posted up. And once again, I don't know, I just find it so hilarious. This dude's like 6'5". Nah, he's probably like 7 feet tall. 340 pounds of nothing but pure, actual muscle, with a beard bigger than probably Donnie's entire head. And he's just glaring down on this group of teenagers. Like, dog, what? And it's amazing to me that his magic is, like, just taking sound away. Like, you would think this guy would have a bigger, more destructive magic, something like Doranok's Impact or something like that. But no, his magical ability is just to steal away sound. It may have more effects than that, but at least that seems to be it. And that's a good assassination ability, don't get me wrong. If you take away sound, they can't scream for help. No one will hear what will happen to them. You can literally get in and out, especially in this time period where there's no like forensic science or anything. McDuff would be the perfect assassin because no one would ever be able to hear anything. And if they can't see it or hear it, there's nothing that ever happened. They would just find the bodies. So I do respect his ability. However, once again, due to the constant jumping and cutting around in this chapter, we don't spend much time with McDuff or the Percy platoon plus Chion. We actually cut back over to Isold and Anne. And Isold's like, Anne, you said you sensed a presence from behind. Are you sure? And Anne's like, yes, there's no doubt about it. And both women look, and we see that a man or a hand comes up on Isold's shoulder. And it goes, hey. And she immediately swings. Notably, this one swing would solo a majority of Seven Deadlysins Season 1. But with that being the case, we see that the perpetrator of the hand placement ducks. blocks and just barely miss. She just barely misses. And Jade asks, like, yo, are you trying to, like, execute me or something? Why did you swing like that? That was malicious. That was vicious. Chill out. And we see that Isold's like, oh, Jade, my fault. I didn't mean to almost take your head off and do permanent brain damage. And we see that Jade's like, oh, my Lord, sweet mother of mercy. I'm kind of into that, though. But give me a break. And we see that Jade asks, why are you guys here? It's just you two, right? I figured, oh, no. Isold asked, why are you here? And Jade's like, well, it's just the two of you, so I figured I could give you a hand. And we see that Isold's like, oh, wow, you're too kind. Thank you. And Jade being like, I literally just did this for you. It's like, no problem. You've been reckless for pretty long while, so I think my supervision is needed. And it is nice. You know, I like my little bonds here and there. Obviously, I don't think, unfortunately, for our boy Jade, unless, hold on, who is Tristan's wife in mythology? Let me double check. Okay, now admittedly I just did some basic Googling. I did not look that deep into it, but yeah, Tristan and Isold don't actually get married in the original. They have an affair, and then Tristan gets banished and executed for it. So, I don't know how much Nakaba's gonna stick to that. That sounds a little bit rough. So maybe Jade does have a chance that I just am underestimating. Because he may be the one that gets Tristan. Then again, Tristan's the king, or he's going to be the king. I wonder how, now that I know that, I wonder how that's going to go. Interesting. However, with the interactions between the two, we see that Anne is like, okay. I see what's going on here. I see what's popping off between you two. Okay. You know, I ship it. Isold. Ooh, what we talking about? Aid. I have no idea. But with that being the case, we do get to see that Isold's like, oh, okay. Looks like you got it wrong, Anne. He came from the side, not the rear. And Jade's like, huh? What are you guys talking about? And we see that Isold's like, oh yeah, we thought we felt a strange presence behind us, but... And then we see that there was, in fact, a strange presence behind them, as a woman with a bow pulls out the clutch, loads up a shot, and then boom! Fired like an eagle. And Isold gets saved by Jade, who tackles her out of the way, while Anne just barely manages to dodge and draw her own blade. And the weapon, or the arrow that pierces straight into the wall. And Jade fully acknowledges that someone shot an arrow out of nowhere. And we see Anteniac walks from the shadows, is like, come on now. Don't make this more difficult for either of us than this really has to be. Don't dodge every shot. Don't you want a quick and painless death? The more you dodge, the more effort I have to put in. And the more effort I have to put in, the more tedious this becomes. So just be good little boys and girls and just perish. I kind of like that mentality. Once again, that definitely reminds me of Derriere. I feel like Derriere would be like, don't dodge my hits. I was trying to hit you for a reason. I need you to get up out of here. Don't do that. However, we see as she walks from the shadows, they realize that she's a Knight of Chaos and that she's going to attack right away to try and get rid of them. However, Jade was a little bit off the money when he said it was a plain old-fashioned arrow. That was not Anteniac's magic. The magic appears to be the snake that comes from the arrow. Anteniac's magic power creeps in from behind, and we shall be continued in chapter 96, known as Battle City. I'm excited. Overall, this was a really, really good chapter. It was a mostly... I don't know why, maybe the chapter just feels a little bit short, but I think it's mainly because the chapter was covering so much at once. We got different interactions between all three of the groups. The only group we didn't see in the chapter at all are Lancelot and Gawain, mainly because I think the chapter is so packed as it is. We get to see the first proper combat debut of the hybrid form of the single Triskelion and the Demon Mark, or the Demon Eye at least. And admittedly, it doesn't have the best of first showings because it literally gets mollywopped and manhandled by Isold. Or I keep saying Isold. Keeps getting mollywopped and manhandled by Io, who just starts wombo comboing Tristan. And I admit, I do find that hilarious. I really like how she wombo combos him, so I do appreciate that. We get a little bit of slight bonding between the Percy platoon and Chion, which is nice to see. We get a little more context. Then again, we already knew that Tristan saved their lives, so Chion's meat munching still goes a little bit too far. However, then we get the introduction of McDuff and his magic, the ability to take away sound. Even though I don't think that's the full story, I think there will be more behind that. Getting to see McDuff posted up, ready to do some damage is always great to see. And obviously the final interactions where Anne figures out that, oh, okay. Isold and Jade, y'all got something going on behind the scenes. I see what y'all doing. I ain't gonna knock your hustle. Y'all do you. Seeing that interaction is nice. And obviously Anteniac showing up, dropping the snake arrow is really, really cool. I'm very interested to see how she fights. There are a couple archers in the original series. There's Gother, obviously. There's Arden. There's the one guy from the Dawn Rar. Remember, Slater's night group. There was the one guy there. But I think that may be it. I know I'm missing a couple. I think there are like 2 or 3 more archers from the original series. So I'm very intrigued to see how Anteniac fights. Notably, she did get up relatively close to them. Usually, if you're like an archer or a sniper, you want to stay at least a decent distance back. But Anteniac seems to be a combo fighter with range and close up, and obviously she has a weird snake arrow magic, so I'm excited to see where that goes. Overall, the chapter just sets up a lot. It is a build-up chapter, ironically enough, despite having a whole ton of fighting in it, and I'm interested to see where the fights go and see how our characters deal with their respective situations. Tristan getting wombo comboed, everyone getting knocked down in silence with McDuff, and finally the archer versus the actors. I'm very, very intrigued. However, that's what I think. Please let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure that little notification bell to miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. Use more result as one. Count them one. Down below. Thanks to the videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.